information gathering is crucial for a meaningful dialogue between all of us. To be able to analyze these cases, to be able to determine what we have and what we don't have, and to take in more detailed information. When we're trying to exchange information with other groups and other people, we need to be able to separate out some of our cases and be able to have statistics that we can share with them that give us meaningful information to share instead of us just scratching our heads and guessing at these things. So that is the reason behind the change here that I'm trying to initiate, is to make us a group that's in the forefront. One of my friends tells me that if you aren't the lead dog, the scenery doesn't change for you. All you're doing is looking at somebody else's behind, and that's not a very pretty picture. So uh, I would like us to be the lead dog on this, and be painting the picture for everybody else and us knowing where we're going. My name is John M. Strobin. My email is houstonghost@gmail.com. Our website is www.paranormalhouston. Oh, I misspelled Houston. Darn, look at that. Investigations.org. My cell is 713-485-4743. And today is April the 16th. During this, what we're going to talk about, and I've organized this into these chapters, is an introduction, the challenge of the paranormal research, and what it means to, to try to comprehend the research and to make it work. The next chapter we're going to go into is the core phenomenon, observing and categorizing the different events. Then we're going to go into severity levels, because some things, if we got noise in the background, uh, we've got to come up and decide how we're going to identify how much noise. Is it level 1? Is it level 2? Or is it mild, severe, or extreme, or do we want to have equipment and actually put decibels in there? We're going to have severity levels so we can determine how bad or how much activity we're having, and to rate that part of it. The next part would be environmental context, setting the scene. So we want to describe what's going on. Is it a full moon? What are the weather conditions? Are we having solar flares? Are there any fault lines near the location? Do we know what the mineral deposits are in the ground? How close is the nearest water or stream? These things, when you're trying to analyze information, this is information that you need to be able to tell people, hey, every time we have activity, it's over a crystal material and there's water in the ground. There are a lot of people that are saying those are the conditions you need. So let's find out. Let's keep a record, document it, prove it, disprove it. Let's be investigators. The human element. We want to be able to understand witnesses and be able to deal with them. Uh, the next chapter will be on investigative methodology, documenting our approach. Then longitudinal data, tracking trends over time. So how are things changing over time? This one that Richard and I don't know if, I think Danny's coming with us tomorrow too. This one I've been out there 3 times already. And so over time, we're having changes in what's happening, and we need to track it over time. What has caused these changes? So tomorrow we'll be using these new sheets to start trying to figure out more information about what's going on. Then the investigator log, our standardized tool. This is going to be the tool we use to gather all this information that we're talking about trying to do. And why this matters, the benefits of standardized data. Well, it matters because it will allow us to actually have data, to be able to track data, and to be able to confirm and prove numbers, that we will be doing things in a more scientific manner. We claim to be doing things scientifically, and we are. We're using scientific instruments, but are we capturing the data well enough? I don't think so. I think we need to improve. And again, I like the scenery being the lead dog than being the dog in second place there, where the scenery never changes. Uh, why does it matter? What are the benefits of standardized data? Well, first off, it makes the scientific community sit up and take notice of you that you are honestly putting an extra effort over everybody else in trying to prove things, that you're really diligently working on this and you are sincere and you're not pulling numbers out of nowhere. You have data to back up what you're talking about, and that's why this matters. The last chapter, we're going to talk about the call to action, and I'll go into that in more detail when we get there, and then we will have a question and answer session. Anybody have any questions at this point? Anybody think it's a good idea or a bad idea? Are y'all already opposed or not? It's important. I can't see the screen or anything, so if anybody's making notes,
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I do too. I think it's the proper thing to do.
Same here too. I agree.
Let's talk about the inherent difficulties in studying paranormal due to its subjective and often anecdotal nature. There is a need for a more systematic methodology to move beyond individual interpretations. And so that's why I want to go to the sheet that we're talking about. And of course, I've already talked to Richard about it and come up with a case number, why we have a case number. And the case number that we're going to be using will start with the year, which will be 2025. The next number will be the month, 04. The next will be the day. Then there will be an underscore, and we will put in the name, like Tedder Cemetery was yesterday. And there's another underscore, and then Richards has Richard as thing, so I know what investigator did it before I even open the file, where it is, and what the date was. I file everything by dates on my computer. And first off, I've got a folder for investigations, and then I got a folder for locations. Everything's got a location. So it might be under Tedder Cemetery, like when we went to Tedder, but that was my second trip to Tedder. So I have one by the first date and one by the second date, and everything from each thing that happens on those dates is categorized by that date number. So that's why I'm thinking. Also, when I do my files, my normal term of the day, and some of my videos, I am tracking all these files by the date and the name. So I'm using the 2025-04-16 paranormal term of the day and then the name. So I'm finding that this type of filing system is working very well. So that's why I want to continue with it. But I'm off track here. Let me get back on. The challenge to the paranormal research, we need a structure in the unexplained. So a lot of things that we're going to be talking about are subjective. They're hard to label. On the new form, you're going to find one that has a section for, we got touch, we got sight, we got hearing, we got smell, we got taste. And actually, let me move this screen out of the way so I can see it for you. We actually have some other things too that we talk about. Here's 8 sensory things here. Interception, gustatory, which has to do with how things taste. And this one, they popped up on there. I don't even know what that is exactly. I have to look into that a little further. But again, then we got auditory, and then we got vestibular, and I'm not sure what that is. This tactile is touch, things that touch you and stuff. Then we have the visual and the olfactory. Olfactory, again, is your smell. So we've got that. Then we're going to have a section on you as an investigator here. What did you feel? When you were out there, did you feel joy, anticipation, trust? Did you have fear, anger, disgust, sadness, surprise? What are your feelings? Because a lot of times when a client is in this situation, they get a feeling, and we trust that feeling that they have. And when you as an investigator are going to have feelings, and I'm going to trust the feelings you have. And as we all get to know each other better, we're going to trust each other a lot more in some of these areas because we're going to be in situations where we depend on each other a lot, and it's got to be where it's just part of the nature of the job that we depend on each other. We trust what we say. We know what the other person's capable, and we're trained where we all do everything the same way. We're standardized in our data collection. It makes it difficult to data collection makes it difficult to be able to get the same results, and we got to get the same results no matter who is doing it. So if we're recording temperatures, or we're recording humidity, or we're recording thermal activity, we've got to be getting the same information regardless of who's doing it. So we've got to be able to trust one another and do it the same. Move forward to better understanding, we need a systematic approach. And I think that when I show you the form here, you're going to see that there is a systematic approach to it. Other things that are going to be considered are actually the client and yourself. You're both going to have psychological and emotional behaviors, and some of these fall into those behaviors. We want to document that. We're going to have biological behavior. Uh, we want to document that. And there's going to be social behavior that we want to document the stress, the trauma, and the environment. And of course, the environment is important because solar flares. If we aren't documenting, and we haven't well, I've had records for the solar flares and stuff, but I haven't been incorporating it in the records enough that I know what the solar activity is for each event. Now we're going to know. Not only that, but we're collecting the GPS locations for these events where they're happening. There's a question for how close is the nearest fault line. And you know what? I've never looked for a fault line before. And I was looking for fault lines today when I was filling out the report. Richard and I filled out a report for Tedder. And as I was looking for this, I found that there were some 23 fault lines near Houston intersecting it. And to be able to zero in on the fault line, I needed a coordinate for the cemetery to know which one was closest. So it's going to require us to collect more data, but we're going to have more data to share. We're going to have more data to build our information on, or to base our research on, and to be able to share with people. I think all this is important. So we're taking these steps to do that. We need to move beyond the vague descriptions and get into more established ones. So on the sheet that I give you, you're going to see where it has auditory, visual, olfactory, tactile, gustatory, object manipulation. And again, in object manipulation, we want to go into the size of the object. How much does it weigh? How much force does it take to do this? So on some of these investigations, we could separate out objects under 2 ounces, objects over a half pound, or objects over 1 square foot or cubic foot or 3 cubic feet, so that we can separate these things out a little more. Environmental changes, temperature, EMF, light, and qualifiable data where possible. Again, we're looking for social and psychological and emotional impact. We want the feelings and intensity that you experience on some of these events. Now, in the past, we haven't tried to even capture the intensity, but do you have a strong feeling, or just a light feeling, or an intense feeling of something? Like a couple of weeks ago, we were going to History, Haunts, and Legends in Jefferson, and I got this premonition that says, John, don't get in your car, do not go. I felt really sick, and I'm really nervous and worried and upset. I couldn't figure it out. And so I finally called Donna. I said, Donna, I'm not going. I'm not getting in my car to go. And I called my brother, told him, hey, don't look for me. I'm not coming. And I backed out of the whole thing. It cost me some money. I lost money on the table and stuff that we didn't set up. And we didn't get an opportunity to present ourselves to some of the people there. But The next day, the tire blew out, and I mean, it was a huge tire failure where the belts separated on my car. The steel belts came out. If I'd been driving at highway speed, I think I'd have been toast. I'm quite sure. So, how intense are these things? The intensity is important, and we need to capture that information because how intense it is going to help determine what the true psychological or emotional impact is on you. Communication attempts. We want to be make sure that we list the methods and the apparent responses so that we're capturing all that data, and that when we do a sort or anything like that, or we have questions about when you're out doing an Estes method or you're out doing some other method, is this what you get, you know? And we're going to catalog the information, the equipment that we're using, exactly what equipment we used. Not, you know, as time goes by, you can't remember. Right now, I can remember what we used the other day. A week and a half from now, I may not be able to remember the exact piece of equipment. Which recorder did I use? You know, which temperature instrument did I use? You know, you lose track. So these things need to be permanently recorded so you can keep track and be accurate in the information you're giving and receiving. And again, we're talking about severity levels. Now, how do we do? In some cases, I've gotten answers from people who said yes or no. Yes or no is not really an answer. It's a positive or a negative or affirmation, but severity level, there could be different things here. Like for auditory levels, how loud was it? Was it, you know, light? Was it mild? Was it severe? Or do we want to go and put different levels for as numbers? We could have different numbers for it rather than using mild or severe or some descriptive word. We could actually have a letter like number one, number two, number three, number four. Emotional impact. Was it mild or severe again? Well, was it, we could have an emotional impact, you know, an EI of EI3, EI4, you know, EI5. Well, I had it out on a scale of 1 to 10. How bad was it? Well, it was a 10, you know. Let's do it by numbers or by, you know, all have the same, that my number 10 is your number 10 and your number one is my number one. So we have to come up with some definitions on some of this to refine this just a little bit. I haven't got it all worked out. But this will help us to understand the severity of the impact of these different things that are happening. Then we have environmental context that we've got to take in, setting the scene, the influence of our surroundings. Environmental factors can potentially influence both the phenomena and our perception. Weather conditions. I mean, if it's cold out, first off, we got to contend with the cameras. You know, when you get your camera out of the car, your lens is going to fog over because it's gone from a warm environment to a cold environment. And it's going to take some time for your camera to adjust and for the lens to warm up so that you don't have the fogging experience and you don't get weird crap in your pictures. So temperature is important. Wind, when we're recording, wind can make a lot of noise, and then we can't get a good EVP because the wind is blowing so hard in the microphones and stuff. Precipitation, if there we got rain falling in the background, it's making little puddly noises as it hits the ground. It's hitting our cameras, and it's making things messy. So, you know, how did weather conditions affect our investigation? Solar conditions, solar activity, geomagnetic effects. We got geomagnetic warning for tomorrow that there's going to be a solar storm tomorrow that's going to cause interference with a lot of pieces of equipment. And we need to know that because it might be doing something to our equipment. And we need to learn what happens during different solar conditions. Do we get more EMFs? Do we get more or less EMFs? Does our equipment go off more often? Does it not? A lot of these things are working on a magnetic or electromagnetic type thing. Geomagnetic doesn't distinguish that. It's still magnetic, and our instruments are going to pick it up. Geological factors, the fault lines, the water sources, minerals, and the other things that I mentioned earlier, these things are all going to have influence on our investigations and need to be included in our results. Temporal factors, time of day, lunar cycle, significant dates, and potential patterns. I did a video already on what I think happens on a full moon, and I truly believe that a full moon does cause us to have more activity than normal. With that said, I can't prove it. But again, Saturday night we were out, and we'll go into that in a few more minutes here. And it was a full moon. So we'll talk about that some more. And there are some other different patterns that we might want to follow because actually some things I've noticed are on the lunar cycle here lately that I've noticed that some things here, I can't recall exactly what it was right now. I noticed the other day that was on a lunar cycle, and I was wondering, now, why are they on a lunar cycle? And I was writing this document, and I was thinking about it being on a lunar cycle and what it has to do with it. And I can't remember what it is right now. It's not coming to me. I'm sorry. I should have written it down. Ambient noise and light levels. Ambient noise levels. While we were at Tedder Cemetery, what kind of noise did we have, Richard?
All kinds of noise, neighborhood and the airport and quite a few.
Highway.
And when you walk, there's a bunch of things on the ground that
Yep. Crunch. Yep.
they're crushed.
So ambient noises that are around. In one case, I actually thought that I heard a EVP, and Danny, you'll love this, and Jarrell. I heard the very same help me that I heard at the cemetery in Belleville. When we played back that recording, and that's what it was. It took a second for it to hit my head and my brain to register on it. I heard it audibly, not on the recorder, audibly, and I heard the same voice, "Help me!" And I'm thinking about it, and I hollered out, "Did anybody else hear that?" I didn't get a response from Richard or Jamie or anybody, so I guess nobody else heard it. But in thinking about it, I'm not sure whether the children playing in the neighborhood there weren't playing something, and one of them said, "Help me," or. And I'm reflecting on that, and was that a real EVP, and will it be on my recorder? I don't know. But anyway, the noise level is important that we record it and we determine, is it a one, a two, a three? Is it light, heavy, severe? What kind of impact does it have on us? Light levels. Was the sun shining? Was it dark as Hades? You know, and what variant of degree of lighting did we have there? How did light play into what we were experiencing or our emotions or whatever? These are all things that we can factor in with factors, with numbers, and then we're recording it. And we've got it. When we're dealing with humans, first off, a lot of times we're dealing with witnesses. And the witness is an observer, of course, but they're subject to a lot of things. So when we're taking in what they're telling us as a witness, we need to consider a lot of things, like how old are they? Age-wise, are they like John Strobin, deaf in one ear, having trouble hearing? You know, uh, what are the other potential variations in their perception? Do men see things differently than women, or have we noticed that? Do we want to notice that? Uh, Physical and mental state. How were they at the time? Were they tired? Were they stressed? Or were they healthy and feeling good? Or were they sick? Were they emotionally having some issues? Belief system. Belief systems influence on a lot of things. First off, do they believe in God? Are they Christian? Are they Tibetan monks? What is there? Are they Jewish? Are they Israelite? Or whatever? All these things have influence over where they come from, information that they base their lives on that may be different than ours. And we need to kind of be able to put that together when we're evaluating what we're being told when they are our witnesses. Also, their familiarity with the location. Are they new at this location? Is this their first time there? We also did a video on the new home syndrome, because a lot of times when people have moved into a new home, they're not used to the different noises that are different from the last place they lived in. And so a lot of times they think they're having activity when they don't. It's just because you're getting used to a new normal. Activities preceding an event. Let's take in trigger objects. If we're using trigger objects, what trigger objects did we use? Did we get more results using a trigger object? Did we get better results? Did we get, more substantive? These things are important, and we haven't been recording it. We need to. We need to be able to explain it. Investigative methodology, documenting our approach. Our methods and equipment can influence, and I got a thing in my way, the data we collect. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it right here. While we were out at Tedder Cemetery, after we were there for about 2 hours, I kind of asked everybody, hey, we aren't really having a lot of activity. Y'all wanting to go home? Now, we did post a video that Jamie had sent me later where she had an SLS activity going that she had sent. And she sent another one where Richard and I were doing dowsing rods, which was, equipment that was used too. But we did get some activity with the dowsing rods. And of course, I always get activity with dowsing rods. When you put dowsing rods in my hand, they work. Uh, just the way it is. Now, equipment malfunctions are important. And I got to thinking about this as I was working on this, and the equipment malfunctions we had. Let me tell you what we had. And I put it on my document. When we first got out of the car, I was trying to get a millimeter working. And the millimeter, when I mashed the button, did not power up. So I took it apart, put a new battery in it, powered it up. It didn't light up. I pulled that battery out. I got a battery tester out, and I started running through battery. I went through 9 volt batteries. I finally quit because I was tired of messing with 9-volt batteries. I couldn't get the thing to power up regardless, and I couldn't tell whether the meter was busted or my 9-volt batteries were all dead or my battery tester wasn't working because it was showing the batteries no good, So I haven't got another battery tester yet, so I don't really know, haven't determined what the nature of the failure was. But anyway, those failures happened. In addition, I got my drone out and we were going to fly my drone in and have it follow me in, and so it could catch us walking in and get an aerial shot of the cemetery and stuff like that. And the application for launching it that communicates with air control would not come up on my phone. It would not let me in. I couldn't get permission to launch the aircraft. So we had to scrub the mission and not be able to use the drone. So did all these malfunctions, were they really caused by something at the scene? And were there enough failures to say that something was causing it at the scene, or was it all just simple failures? Well, we're still working on that because we don't know, but a lot of times failures like this do mean something. Investigative protocol, static monitoring, interactive sessions, etc. are the context for the findings. we want to be able to go through our information and be able to have better control over the information, steps taken to rule out natural explanations and strengthen our findings because we've got real data behind it. And again, like the equipment malfunctions, I want real data behind it. So I'm going to find out why our battery tester didn't work, why the 9-volt batteries were all bad if they're bad, or why the millimeter broke. Oh, and the temperature sensor on the millimeter fell off right after I started to put it away. So it broke too, another break in the millimeter. We're breaking so much equipment anymore. It's terrible. I can't afford it. We can't afford it. Longitudinal data. Let me move that out, back out of the screen again. I moved it to the wrong spot a minute ago. Tracking trends over time. The bigger picture changes over time. And again, talking about the one we're going on tomorrow, it's been changing. And of course, we're getting different results from some of the things that we've done. We've staked out the 4 corners with and buried quartz crystals in those 4 corners. I've gone around the property line with 3 pinches of salt and a bowl of water and sprinkled the water as I was going, creating a boundary so that entities could not cross that boundary, trying to get the entities further from our home. We've done the essential oil sponging of the house, and we've used sage and stuff on her house. And she says the activity's starting to pick back up again. Now, unfortunately, her neighbor is also experiencing some of the same things. Now, her husband is not receptive to a lot of the things that we've been doing, so she tries to get him out of the house so that we can come in. And of course, she's got a mother-in-law staying with her, and she likes to get her out of the house with her husband so that we have free run of the place and can do the steps we need to do to try to seal the mirrors and stuff. And she says she was having some activity from the mirrors that she hasn't reported before. And the last time I was there, I did use anointing oil and I did seal mirrors with the anointing oil. So nothing should have been able to come through the mirrors. So I don't know. She now has them covered. But anyway, we will get into more of that tomorrow on this investigation. Point here is that over time things change. So do they always take this course? Do they always escalate? We're going to have data from this one that we can use for other investigations to base a report. Says, hey, we always had, when we had this type of activity, this always increased it. Or the next one, we may not have this activity and we can't say that. We say it's 50-50 chance or whatever. We can give numbers to people that ask questions. But anyway, we need to be able to identify increases and decreases or patterns over time. And of course, she's supposed to be keeping a log for us on the date she's having activity, and so that we could track how much activity she's having. Okay, now you're going to get to see the investigator log. Our comprehensive investigator log is designed to capture all this wonderful and critical information. So again, you can see, I'm going to move this out of the way. We got information here with our case ID number. And here again, it was 20, 25, 04, 12, Tedder. And of course, the file number on this particular one is Richard. And of course, this is made out by Richard. And on the further page back, it shows that he signed it. Well, I haven't looked to see, but I assume that he signed it. So anyway, I know that it's him, and it reports everybody that was on the investigation. You know, some investigations, I can't even remember who all was on those investigations, which is really bad. So anyway, that helps as a starter. And here it starts in with the geological factors. Check all that apply. Known fault line nearby. Actually, there are 13 fault lines nearby. Suspected underground water source. I don't know. I haven't looked into that part. Didn't get known for specific minerals. I don't know that yet either. Radon levels. Check if the result have an instrument that'll do radon levels. We're going to need some more donations to do that. But anyway, this is the start. This new, fortunately, long. It's 6 pages long. Here is uh, only subjective events observed is what he says here. He's indicated a full moon. Now, what I did was I just circled on mine. I circled full moon on mine rather than, write it in, but you can do whatever you need to do. And then we don't know if there were any significant dates. I did of the cemetery were buried on April the 12th or died on April the 12th or born on April the 12th. So that's something we can look into. And actually, a lot of that could be done on Find a Grave. I could look through all those records. Ambient noise levels, whether if it was quiet, moderate, background noise, loud and distracting. Okay, Richard says loud noises, airport nearby, children playing in the neighborhood. And again, where I heard that voice help me. I don't know if it was children playing in the neighborhood or not. But anyway, here he says lights in nearby neighborhood. And of course, we had light from the full. Yeah, I think Richard and I were there at 6:30. We were early. But it was daylight at that time and shifting to evening. We have a thing here for witnesses where we ask witnesses about their information, and we're collecting information about their age, their gender, known mental state, beliefs, familiarity with location activities that we've talked about, preceding the observed events. And we go on through what we've already talked about tonight. So this is just page 2. I think I sent you all a copy of this sheet in an email so you could look it over and go by it. If I didn't, let me know and I will get you a copy. Now, this sheet, by the time we get through all 6 pages of this, we're going to know what the severity level is for each event, how strong it was. We're going to have better communications, shared vocabulary, data structure. We're going to have increased credibility in the entire paranormal world just because we are following a systematic approach and a scientific method recording the information that we have captured. And we ought to be able to share that with our brothers and sisters in the paranormal world and have a broader understanding amongst ourselves. And I'm hoping I didn't put any of the Paranormal Houston stuff on this page yet. It's still, first off, in a preliminary stage because I haven't decided about information about how we're going to do the levels. Here we have witness, witness 1, witness 2. That's to identify, different ones. How many witnesses do you have, who they are? So we might have to have a W1, W2, W3, might need more pages of this that we can attach. And if we do, what I need to do is print these, take these to a printer and have them printed so we can tear off sheets and not have to worry about trying to print them on a printer before we go. And not knowing how many we're going to need. You understand what I'm saying? I hope. Okay, call to action. Moving forward, our commitment to comprehensive data collection. I think our comprehensive data collection is an approach that's crucial for our growth and effectiveness of all of our investigators to raise the level of the game that we're demonstrating, the level of the work we're doing, that if we're out there putting the time in that we put in, we can put in a few extra steps and make it so much more worthwhile and so much more meaningful for the people that we serve and for ourselves, because we can come back and look through this data and everything. How come I have my hand up? Oh dear. Okay. Open to discussion and feedback on the log and process. Anybody got any feedback on our log? What do you think? Richard, did you have any
Yeah, I was
difficulty?
thinking that there would be a lot of duplication with the logs that we have where everybody's is gonna talk about the temperature and like the fault lines and stuff. Maybe if you had two log forms, one where the lead would be in charge of the redundant data, and then the investigators would just be in charge of what would they observe differently from anybody else there, and it might reduce some of the redundancy in collecting the data.
You're right. It would decrease the redundancy, but my thought is that some people might skip it on one of them and we might not collect it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And if we've got different data, maybe we need to look and see why we have different numbers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I thought if we put the lead investigator in charge, that person would know that he would, a lot of that information, I think we can look up afterwards, like fault lines. That's not
Sure,
going
and like the fault lines, and we can look up the coordinates of the thing. But
yeah,
a lot of times I look it up before I go, so I happen to have it anyway. So, but all right, that's a suggestion we'll go with. Let's do one for a lead investigator that's more detailed even than the others, and I'll figure out a way to identify the lead investigator in the case number. Anybody else? Danny, you got any comments?
No, I think it's I like what you put together with the paperwork.
Okay.
Because that way we can have a better understanding, and also each of us when we do go out and investigate, because sometimes you might be in one room and have a different, depending upon the temperature or EVPs and that kind of thing. And then another person might be in another part of the, and we get all this data and collect it, and then we can put that together. But I like the way you put that, the paperwork. I like that quite a bit.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Jarrell, you got any comments?
Actually, I thought you did really well, Tom. My comment would be that's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, it is.
It's more paperwork for sure, and it's going to take more effort on our part and take a little longer. But I think it's going to put a lot more on me because I've got to compile it all when we get back. Oh, I didn't show you one other thing. Let me stop sharing this screen. And this will give you a better idea. Now I'm going to share this screen. Taking a second. Boy, my computer's running slow. Share. Okay. Now here is the PHI case severity thing. Now here I've gone ahead and put in like the Tedder Cemetery here. Here's the case number, Tedder. And of course I have one for Richard, one for me. And here's the date. Auditory severity was 2. Visual was no visual, no smells, no touching, no taste in our mouths or anything like that. Object manipulation. I put 5 on here for object manipulation just because of the failure of the instruments, the possibility that something happened. We had no temperature change, EMF disturbance. We didn't get an EMF meter out, but I'll be honest with you. The first time I was out there, I had an EMF meter out. I was getting EMF readings on every scale, and there's no power lines. There's nothing there to generate electromagnetic interference whatsoever.
Mm.
And I had it on every scale. And I didn't pull the meter out while I was there Saturday. And uh, but I know that the first time I was there, it was there all over the place. Light anomalies I show as zero. Emotional impact, I didn't notice any emotional impact. Communication, I haven't put anything in there yet because I've still got to go through the EVP session that we tried to go through and see what we've captured there. Frequency index, how often there's activity. I have not put anything in there yet either because I didn't know what to put, but this is something that we will have for each of the clients is how often do they, is it weekly, monthly, every 2 days, whatever they're telling us. And the overall impact on their lives. Is it moderate, significant, mild, you know? And then I've got a section for notes. So this is the document, that information, all that information we're collecting together will go into this document where we can look at it at a glance and start to determine what we got going, understand our information. What do you think? No wow, no
Now,
ooh.
are you doing it as a scale from like 1 to 10? I mean, I see that you
On
have.
some of these, on auditory, I had thinking that I would go from 1 to 10, and
Oh,
visual,
okay.
maybe 1 to 10 also. Depending, because what I'm probably going to do is on one part of the sheet, that the overall sheet tells you what the scale is going to be or how we're going to use it, so that you can put your information in, and in visual, uh, if it's cloudy or overcast or something, you've got some level of where you can't see. You see what I'm
All right.
saying? So
Okay.
here I had no interference with my vision. So, and here in this building was moderate manipulation, but there was visual impairment of 3 where there was some difficulty seeing. So maybe it was dark or, not
Oh,
enough
okay.
light. See, so anyway, I will have a little table that tells you what the numbers mean or what the severity is, so that we're all generating numbers, and we could take the average and put in here.
Okay.
What does that sound right? Everybody agree? Everybody say, John, you're full of crap.
No, no, I'm just trying to, yeah. It's like almost
Okay.
like a spreadsheet where you see
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Well,
And then,
that way you need a way to interpret your data.
right, right.
From
And you can
this, I
see
could
it in
actually
file. Yeah.
From this, I could actually feed it into a spreadsheet. Well, not a spreadsheet, but a graph,
Right.
and get the numbers, and I can see whether if it's going up or down over time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Or I could have a spreadsheet for each person that turns in a sheet, and it could have a graph with his color. He's red,
Oh,
Richard's red, I'm green,
okay. So you can
Danny's
see,
blue. Yeah, and we
okay,
can see what's going on.
what's going on in the, yeah,
Yeah, it gives us ways to interpret our data better.
exactly. And what location and what,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
And to try to come to an understanding of it, a better understanding of the paranormal.
Sure.
That's our goal,
Yeah.
right? Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. I almost forgot to show you that. And that's
Okay.
as important as any of the rest of it, really. So, okay. Oh, and I had shared a link to that with all of you, so you can go look at that and kind of get a taste of it, start with. So, anyway, okay. Before I close out here, Jarrell, would you like to give us a departing prayer to bless us and get us through the week?
Absolutely, Heavenly Father. As we go through the rest of this week, Lord, God, we ask that you just keep us, guide us, God, and keep us well. Keep us safe, keep us blessed. We ask and pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jarrell. We appreciate you for doing that. Okay, if nobody else has any other questions for any of you out there that have found this video to be interesting, please subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep posted on updates to it. Also, I'd like to have you know that if you'll email me at houstonghost@gmail.com, I will be happy to send you a copy of the form we're using and get you lined up so that you're doing the same thing we are. Or if you have questions, we'll be happy to answer it. Thank you. Good night.